So you've just taken your first steps into Limgrave and just taking it all in about how big the world is and how beautiful it all looks. And the question that probably crosses your mind is, what kind of weapon should I use? This guy right here, he's going to try and tell you, luckily he's there. But I'm going to tell you this, luckily I'm here. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at my picks for the top 5 best weapons in early game that'll carry you into the mid game as well. Let's get into the number 5 spot. Kicking things off at number 5, we're going to be taking a look at the Greatsword. So from the first step, Site of Grace, just follow Torrent on this path here into Caelid. It is worth mentioning that these enemies can do ridiculous amounts of damage to you if you're a little bit under-leveled, so just keep that in mind. But from that Site of Grace, you're just going to want to jump on Torrent here, and we're going to go for this chest here. And inside this chest right here is going to be the weapon in question, the Greatsword. Like I mentioned before, just keep an eye out for these enemies. They do stupid amounts of damage. I'm about level 40 or so with this build, so I'm able to tank it. But your best option is just trying to get on Torrent there and just getting out of there as soon as you possibly can. Just run back to the Grace and it'll just reset the aggro, which is exactly what I'm about to do. So we're going to go ahead and rest the Grace, and I'm going to go ahead and swap to the weapon just so I can kind of showcase it for you guys a little bit here. So taking a look at the weapon here, the only reason why I put it at number 5 is just because it requires a good amount of strength at 31. So you guys are just going to want to commit to a full bonk build if you're running this weapon. But it does have the standard Colossal Sword moveset, and it can also be infused with Ashes of War, which is awesome. So you can put Lion's Call or Giant's Hunt on it. It just comes with that standard upward cut, as you guys just saw. We're going to go ahead and run forward, and I'll just kill a couple enemies with it just so you guys can kind of see the DPS it's capable of. I mean, it's fair. I mean, it is a +0 weapon. So, I mean, for what it is, it's not terrible. But that's going to be the Greatsword at number 5. Let's go to the number 4 spot. Moving things forward at number 4, this is going to be a standard Twinblade. This one's actually pretty simple. From the first step Site of Grace, you're just going to want to mount up Torrent and just follow my path here to these runes over here. There are a couple enemies between the Grace and the runes, but being that this is Limgrave, they're scaled down pretty low level, so it shouldn't be an issue. It's also worth mentioning that you guys are going to want to follow my exact path here, because there is another tunnel in these runes that has a transporter trap in it, and it's going to take you straight to a cave in Caelid. And if you're sitting at a lower level, the cave itself can be pretty nightmarish. So yeah, like I said, but there's going to be the Twinblade out of that chest. We're going to go ahead and take a look at its stat requirements here. Sitting at 10 strength and 18 dex, so nothing too crazy. I will go ahead and mention that you guys are going to be wanting using this Samurai starting class for pretty much all the weapons on this video, unless I mention otherwise. But we're going to go ahead and find a couple enemies here so I can go ahead and demonstrate this weapon's moveset. And speaking of the moveset, this thing, its attacks come out really, really quick. It's absolutely excellent about killing mobs just because the attacks are so quick and you can just run right through them without having to worry about taking damage, because you can just do stagger back to them, as you just saw. And once you get into the later part of the game, you can get talismans for this thing that increase the successive attacks, and you can just push this thing to another level. That's going to be the Twinblade at number 4. Let's go ahead and move into the number 3 spot. Moving things along at number 3, this is going to be the Reduvia dagger. So from the Gil Lake South Site of Grace, you're going to want to go ahead and mount up on Torrent. Follow my exact path here. It is a little bit of a trek, but the payoff is definitely well worth it. It is noted that this is going to be a bleed weapon, and its Asher War combined with the infused bleed can just do absolutely insane damage on your opponents. So just like I said, just keep on going through here. I went ahead and speed this up just so obviously you don't lose your sanity. Just listen to me talk while we get to the weapon part of it. But as soon as you go a little bit further in here, you're going to be invaded. And if you haven't left Limgrave at all, you're actually going to be assisted with this invasion here. Yura will come and help you. So ideally, I would highly recommend just waiting for him to spawn. That way you guys can kind of just gank this invader and get him out of the way. I do also apologize that this is on a higher level build. My footage of this got scuffed on my level 40 that I showed on the last 2 weapons. But that's going to be the invader there. So he does drop the Reduvia, as you just saw. As you can see, it requires 5 strength, 13 dex, and 13 arcane, so nothing too terrible. And since we are on a higher level build here, I am just going to go ahead and power stance them just to kind of show you guys that if you do get another one of these, or even just another dagger, that you can just throw out insane amounts of damage. But the real show off for this weapon, in my opinion, is the Asher War. Bleed from a distance is a very, very rare thing in this game, especially with how far away you can do it with this. I know it doesn't look terribly far, but obviously with bleed, generally you're going to want to be, on your target, hitting them constantly. but the Ash of War does cause blood loss buildup from a distance as well. But that's going to be enough about the Ash of War. Let's look at the weapon's moveset in itself. As you can see, with power stancing them, it does hit really fast, really hard. This is New Game +2, so I mean, these skeletons are scaled just a little bit, so I know that it doesn't look that crazy. But you guys can get talismans that buff successive attacks, and you can take these Reduvias to another level, especially with the bleed that they have. But that's going to be the number 3 spot. Let's go ahead and move into number 2. Moving things along at number 2, this is going to be the Meteorite Staff. As usual, I'll show you guys where to go from the first step. You're going to go ahead and ride Torrent, and you can literally just follow this path on him and get to this site of grace. The enemies out here can be pretty dangerous if you're not at a good level, so just keep that in mind. Also, with this weapon, this is the only weapon on the list where I would not recommend using Samurai as your starting class. I would highly recommend going with Astrologer instead, just for the higher base intelligence. Right here, I do completely forget that you cannot grab the staff from this part on Torrent. I thought you could, but apparently you can't. So we're going to go ahead and run through here and watch out for these flowers. They can stagger you pretty easily, as you guys are seeing here. I tried to roll around them, but I got tired of it and just cut them down with the Health and Steeple. But we're going to go ahead, and this is going to be your Meteorite Staff. With this staff, it has the highest int scaling of any staff that you can obtain this early in the game at S rating. Also requiring fairly low intelligence at 18 and only 6 strength. We're going to go ahead and just demonstrate a couple casts here. This is just a standard glintstone pebble. Nothing crazy there. But also it is worth mentioning while you guys are here, this is kind of a 2-for-1. This sorcery we're going to grab from these runes, it might be the best early game sorcery for you guys as well, without just having to commit with a stupid amount of int. So we're going to go ahead and run down these stairs here, and we're going to go ahead and open the door. And inside this chest is going to be the Rock Sling sorcery, and this actually works out really nicely because the Meteorite Staff also boosts gravity sorceries, which the Rock Sling spell is. We're going to go ahead and rest the grace here just so I can actually equip it and demonstrate a couple casts for you guys. This one also only requires 18 int, so not too terribly high if you started with the Astrologer like I recommended. But we're going to go ahead and throw a couple off, and this thing actually does have a good amount of range to it too, so you can actually get the enemies from pretty far out. But that's going to be the Meteorite Staff at number 2. Let's go ahead and proceed into the number 1 spot. Wrapping things up at the number 1 spot, this is going to be Bloodhounds Fang. From the first step side of grace, you're going to see here, you're going to just want to come over to the Ag Hill Lake south side of grace. You can ride Torrent right over here, easy, no problem. Speaking of Torrent, we're going to go ahead and mount up, and we're going to ride up to this Everjail here. We're going to go ahead and enter the Everjail and fight the boss that's within. I am a little bit over leveled for this area. I'm about level 40 or so, with just some quick room farms, you guys can make pretty quick work of this guy as well. So we're going to go ahead and enter the Everjail here. And the boss within is going to be a Bloodhounds Knight. They're a fairly common enemy throughout the game. This one specifically has a boss health bar attached to him. But with the Health and Steeple, we're going to go ahead and make quick work of him here. And I just went with the over-leveled route just to kind of get the boss out of the way quicker, just to make the video a little more about the weapon and not about the boss itself. They do have a really spammy moveset, but once you guys get the hang of them, their health bars are pretty squishy, so at the end of the day, it's not a huge deal. But we're going to go ahead and swap to the Bloodhounds Fang itself, and we're going to wait for this pesky loading screen so I can showcase the weapon for you guys. So taking a look at the weapon itself here, it requires 18 strength and 17 dex to wield, so not too terribly high of stats. With the Ash of War, you can hold down L just to do the roll there, or you can hold down L and then commit with the R2 for a full charge there. But that's going to be the Bloodhounds Fang, and that's also going to be today's video. Thank you guys for coming out, and I hope you guys have a good day. Thank you.